now we're live. So hopefully we are live. We've got about 5 cameras rolling at the same time here, Phoebe, which is exciting.
Very technical.
Very first thing, for those who are watching on webinar, Jan, I need you to just go to the chat box on the right-hand side and just say g'day if you can hear us. Just make sure that technology is working. For the other guys on the YouTube live channels, if you can hear us as well, if you can just pop in a I can hear you, then at least we know you're there.
And if you're on our Facebook page, if you're on Thrive and Shine in Business or Thrive and Shine, the Instagram page, or if you're tuning in live via my Facebook page, hello and say hi. Let us know that you're here. I can already see some people waving, so awesome. Great to have you guys jumping on.
Fantastic. So first of all, I suppose let's start with the topic itself. Is social media marketing dead or dying?
Ooh.
That's the topic. Now, some exciting news. First of all, for those who don't know me, my name's David Guest. I'm the founder of Outcomes Business Group. We've been running for about 20 years, and I'm very excited to have Phoebe Lay here with us today.
Really great to be here this morning. It's been a hectic morning.
Absolutely.
It's all happening.
But the exciting news is that social media has been around for quite some time now, and people have been using it and they've been trying to make it work for their business, and it's probably the most often spoken about marketing channel at the moment. And one of the things we recognise here at Outcomes is it's definitely here to stay. It's not necessarily dying, I think it's evolving.
Oh yeah.
And we've actually asked Phoebe to join our team. So Phoebe's now part of the coaching team here who specialises in social media. So today's going to be an interesting conversation because we're going to talk about social media, what's happening, where it's going, the sections that are dying, the sections that we need to be focused on, and how you can actually get leads out of social media. So Phoebe, tell us a bit about yourself, your background.
Alright, well, for those that don't know, and I'm sure a few people already do, I'm a social media expert. So I predominantly help my clients and the Outcomes clients now with Facebook marketing, Instagram, LinkedIn, with ads, with growing their Instagram profile,
Right.
and promoting themselves through social media. So it's all about growing businesses through digital.
So I suppose the topic today was, is social media marketing dead? Now, why would someone think that?
Look, it's funny because people are starting to really now jump on this bandwagon of using Facebook, of using, Instagram, of cutting through the noise using digital. Like, as we can see here right now, we've got 5 cameras running at the same time.
Yes.
But at the same time, I still get asked this question all the time. They're like, should I be using Facebook anymore? Is Facebook dead?
Yeah.
Or should I be, moving away from Facebook and starting to use LinkedIn or YouTube? And I guess, what I always say to them is, well, where are you browsing? And where are people browsing these days? Where are people spending most of their time outside of their 9 to 5, dropping off kids, having family time? What are they doing in those in-between hours to relax and unwind? And where are they tuning into?
Exactly, because isn't it true? I suppose marketing's really all about eyeballs.
Oh yeah.
And when we talk about channels, I think sometimes people get confused and they say, does it work? Because people tell me I should post and do this and do that. And we've got to remember there's a few stakeholders in this game, right? And if we look at it from a purely business point of view, if I'm Facebook, I have one objective, and that's to keep you on my page as long as possible. It's a free service to everyone who registers for Facebook, so we're not making money out of you using it. We're making money out of selling you using it. So my objective as Facebook is to keep you on there as long as possible. They're doing it very successfully. I think statistically people are spending more time and more people are staying on, not just Facebook, Instagram, basically all the social channels. And here's the irony, some of the other channels have dropped off. So radio and TV, now people are watching TV while they're on Facebook or while they're on their social channel. So people are consuming both media and they're actually switching off while the ads are on and doing their social stuff at the same time. So I suppose one of the interesting things and one of the reasons you're here is that you do have a methodology and you do have some ideas around how people should approach their social media marketing. Maybe we can run through some of that and we can draw parallels between that and traditional marketing channels as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever I take a client through their marketing and their strategy, before any kind of work gets done, and the same goes for business in, you know, all areas of business.
Yeah.
There's got to be a framework. So the framework that I always take my clients through is, in the beginning, it's always about setting up a system. So it's a framework within a framework, essentially. It's about setting up a system, having a strategy in place, you know, having a blueprint so that the client or the business itself, the organization, knows which platforms they're promoting in, which platforms their ideal customers and their avatar lie in, and getting them clear on, you know, what their strategy is. So that's always the first step.
Fantastic. And like to relate that to the old world of marketing, which I'm used to, my mantra is marketing's mathematical. And to me, marketing should always be seen as an investment, not as an expense, and that includes your time. So if you're spending time blogging because you think that's going to save you money on paid advertising, that's fine, but it's still a cost. And the key with marketing is to make sure that the return is greater than the cost.
Yes.
I know it sounds silly, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't actually know financially whether their channels are working for them. And one of the reasons they don't is they're not measuring not just leads, not just clicks, but actual sales versus
and return
investment.
on investment.
So when we talk about systems and strategy, I think one of the parts for that is the viability of these channels as well.
Absolutely, because marketing doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, if anything, marketing is something that is going to help build and scale your business. And there are people out there that consider Facebook as a platform that's a money printing machine. Because they see it as you put in $10 into Facebook ads and you should be getting $100 back. So if you had an ATM that was able to generate you 10 times more the revenue that you put into that, like people would be throwing money into it. So yes, so the framework and the system is the first part. The second part to, you know, helping my clients get results through digital marketing is always getting them clear on who is their ideal customer.
Isn't that funny? Because, you know, every time we talk to people about marketing, the question comes up is, will the local paper work for me? Will Google work for me? Will Facebook? And it's the wrong question. Because the question is, who is your target market and where are they looking, right? So targeting has always been a priority, and even more so with social media. But one of the exciting things for me about social media is how much information I can get around my target market.
Exactly.
Because normally, like, I'll put an ad in a magazine, and it'll be based on the circulation, and it'll be based on who buys that magazine, and I'll get all that demographic information from the magazine. But the problem is I'm punting on circulation, and people who are interested in my product, there being a good sort of yield on the cost, right? I think with social media marketing, getting your targeting right is even more important because you can key all this information in and find that person. So you can get a circle which is like a kilometre or less. You can actually find people who have preferences for hobbies. You can find people who are married or not married or have children. How many children? What are their hobbies? What car do they drive?
That's right. So the great thing about social is Facebook is a platform, like I'm just going to talk about Facebook here. Facebook is a platform that you've got to be logged into in order for you to use it, right? It's a little bit different to Google. You don't necessarily have to be in your Google account when you're, you know, browsing through or searching. So Facebook knows all of our data. It understands our browsing preferences. It understands the posts that we're spending more time commenting on or engaging with. So we have the advantage of knowing who our ideal customer. When you have the advantage of knowing who your ideal customer is, you've got the advantage of leveraging Facebook's platform to target those people, and you can get so detailed in that you can target their interests, where they're going. You know, if you know where they're spending their time, like I call it the niche stalk, or the avatar analysis, where you know, I get my clients to pretty much like stalk their niche. So it's like getting into what their pain points are, what their desires are, what they're doing, you know, outside of work, so that they understand where they can find them through social.
So you can decide on a target by demographics, so where they live. Geographics, where they live, demographics, their lifestyle choices.
Their interests as well.
Psychographics, what their preferences are. Then you can start drilling in and seeing what they're doing. So you can see where they're clicking, what they're looking at, what they're not looking at. So there's quite a lot of information that I can extract from Facebook. Now, for some people, they struggle with identifying their target market. And one of my favourite ways to fix that, so traditional marketing, what I would say is look at your existing client list and rank them A, B, C, D. D being the clients that cost you money, A being the clients that are awesome to work with and that refer a lot, and then start using those A's as your target.
Yeah.
Because at least you've got some sort of sense of who they are. So defining the target market can be done a couple of ways, but here's something awesome you told me with Facebook. Once I have my A-grade clients, I can upload their email addresses into Facebook.
Yeah.
And Facebook will find them for me if they're on the platform. Is that correct?
That's right. So you've got the option of doing retargeting and remarketing on Facebook,
Right.
which is really cool because it means that if someone has seen your ad in the past or interacted with your page, then you can actually specifically advertise to those people.
Right.
Now, for some people, they might think that's a little bit annoying, but how many times have you scrolled, taken an interest in something, and then completely forgotten about it? And how good is it when, like, I actually, David, I don't know about you, I mean, obviously, I always get labelled the millennial and, or the Gen Y or whatever, I don't even know which one it is, but I have this thing where I sometimes say to myself, if I've got a problem, maybe if I jump on Instagram or Facebook, it'll just know and it'll automatically already be able to find me the answer.
Scary thing, right?
It is a scary thing. It does, because, for instance, if I'm always browsing retreats and I'm always looking at, vegan foods or, health-related stuff, my newsfeed is already, completely tailored to me.
You.
So sometimes I don't even need to come up with ideas. I just go on Instagram or Facebook, and the stuff's already laid out for me.
Yeah.
So, and that's the power of these social media platforms, and you can leverage that.
Yeah,
it is.
You can leverage it, but as you said, some people find that disconcerting. That I'm looking on this website, next thing you know, all their ads are showing up in my feed. Now, I know my wife used to hate this. She goes, "That's spooky, they know what I'm doing." But now she's actually flipped right around and said, "I'm so glad they know what I'm doing because the right ads are coming up." So rather than seeing ads that are unrelated, I'm actually seeing ads that are related to specifically where I am in the buying cycle for the things that I'm interested in.
Exactly right. And you can always hide ads as well. You can tell Facebook that you don't like something.
Right.
There is the option of clicking on a sponsored ad that you have suddenly received on your newsfeed and then going, why am I seeing this? And clicking hide ad actually tells Facebook you're not interested, and Facebook then changes the ads that you're being seen.
So really this targeting thing is quite interesting because not only can I just take my existing clients up, I can upload them and I can do a thing called lookalike. Can you explain a bit about lookalike?
Yeah, so a lookalike audience is pretty much using the data that Facebook has and uploading your audience into Facebook so that Facebook can then show your ads or your boosted posts to people that are similar to your existing database or similar to people that have already purchased from you. If you can separate your database to actual clients or getting really detailed. The more detailed you are, obviously, the more you can create a more lookalike audience that's more accurate, given that you give Facebook enough data.
Right.
So if you have a tiny little database and a tiny lookalike audience, and you don't give enough data to Facebook, Facebook will struggle. So bear that in mind. Okay. So really, I suppose Facebook, it's in their interest to help you because where they make their money is from advertising dollars, and they seem to have taken over from Google in terms of getting advertising space. And what happens is we start moving forward. Okay, we seem to have a technology issue. Oops.
Can you put that back where it's supposed
to be? Yeah.
Sorry. That's all right. So it looks like we have some technology challenges, so we're going to take a break while you go and refresh your cup of coffee. No, we're not. Apparently we're not. Apparently we're going to keep going.
All the lives are going.
All the lives are going.
Okay, cool.
Okay, interestingly enough, Facebook's still going and everything else has died. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you may think that Facebook's onto this, but let's just see if we can get this back to going. All right, we're sideways. We need to...
We'll continue the live in there in a moment, but at least Instagram is still running and we've got plan B and C. Okay.
This is what we call bleeding edge technology,
That's right.
and we are bleeding the edges.
We are back on. Okay, cool.
So, so where were we? We were talking about targeting. We were talking about the ability to do lookalike marketing and the ability to upload my database to Facebook, so it can really get going really quickly.
Absolutely.
And so really, what's the next thing we need to do? Because obviously we can build this great audience, and we can get all these people to know us.
Yes.
How do we get them to actually engage? Because I think there's so much traffic on social media. You know, these feeds are moving so quickly. How do I get people to respond
Yep.
to my
So
advertising?
that now brings me to the third part of the system, the
Yep.
framework that we were talking about. So the third part to the system and the framework that I take my clients through is I help them to find their differentiating value proposition
Right.
online.
Okay.
So it's not about just having a DVP as in like a unique selling product or a niche. You've actually got to niche on social as well.
Right.
So it's really important as a marketer, as a business owner, that you are actually creating a standout voice, a standout online presence, because
Right.
when you have a standout online presence, people will start to resonate with your message and they'll start hearing it through and through. So getting
Can you explain standout online presence to me?
yeah, okay. So say for instance you've got this idea or this message, right? And
Yep.
and a lot of people they've got great value to share. They've got really fantastic, value to add, and a lot of the time
Just keep talking. We'll be good. There's nothing like
this is what happens when you've got 5 cameras at the same time and we're relying on alright, cool. So when you are marketing online and you've got a message to share, it's so important that you're not just kind of blending in and saying what's like tiptoeing around the message, I call it. Like you've got to really spread your message in a very authentic and engaging way, and actually be very real and authentic in general. That's how social media works. That's how social media connects with your ideal market and your audience. So that's one way. And obviously branding, like being very consistent with your branding, being very consistent with your messaging, your branding, your the kind of what you're wanting to get out there. So that's crucial.
So let's talk a bit about branding, because branding is a pretty broad term, right? So when you say branding, are we talking about logos? Are we talking about colours? What are we talking about with branding?
Yeah, I mean, colours is a big part of branding, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will agree that when they're seeing a brand and it looks visually appealing, that's a much more trustworthy brand because they recognise that those colours or those fonts or even the type of message, that's all considered branding, and they recognise the business. They're starting to recognise that that's the for instance that IBM, their colours, or the Microsoft colours, or understanding that your brand is way beyond just what's on your business card and what's on your website. Your brand is actually you.
Okay.
And I think that's the key message.
Yeah, so let's go back one step. We were talking about you've got to have a system.
Yep.
You've got to have strategy, which means you're aiming for an outcome. You're measuring those things.
Absolutely.
So now you've got to have some idea of who you're targeting. So you've got to be as specific as you can, so you're getting the best return on your investment in marketing, right?
Definitely.
Once we've done that, now we need to have a good message. So that's a combination of unique value. What did you call it?
Your USP online.
USP
so
online?
it's having that unique message.
Yep.
That that really stands out online, and being very. I think it's not so much that it has to be unique in that it has to be something completely bizarre and weird, but it's got to be very true to your voice.
Can I ask you to give us an example?
Okay, sure. So I'm going to use a business that, in fact, I'm going to use one of my previous businesses.
Okay.
My first business was a few years ago, and it was when I was, really delving into business for the first time, or perhaps even the second time if you considered the first time even a business. And I started a matcha green tea company called Matcha Sisters. Now, I remember when I first started Matcha Sisters, I just thought there was already an empire that was really doing well
Yep.
in the matcha front.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality of their matcha compared to the quality that I found in Japan, being ceremonial grade, was quite different.
Right.
Now, I knew that there was no way this one-woman band, this passion side hobby business, was going to compare to this global empire.
Right.
Or empire in the making at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I was going to do it anyway. And that was because I knew that there was something really unique about Matcha Sisters. And that is that Matcha Sisters gives back 50% of profits to human trafficked victims.
Right.
So that was something that was very unique.
Right. Okay. So your unique selling proposition can be unrelated to the product itself. So it doesn't have to be a different version of matcha. It could be just that you give 50% of profits to a specific charity.
Yeah, so there was a message behind the brand.
Yeah. Okay, understand. And so let's go to the branding thing that you mentioned as well, because once again, I'm sort of trying to understand specifically, when you say branding is important, what does that look like? Can you give us an example?
Okay, so branding is important because your brand is essentially quite a few components.
Yeah.
So one component is obviously the visuals. You know, it's the business cards, the websites, you know, those sorts of things. But another part of the brand that's really, really important is actually the representation of the brand.
Right.
So the brand ethos and the people behind the brand, and most importantly, the face of the brand, which for a lot of people would be the business owner.
Mm-hmm.
They are the brand.
Right.
So a lot of the time, people, especially, you know, entrepreneurs that are really, you know, passionate about what they do and what they create, the creators, they're very passionate about the product.
Yeah.
But it's actually not just the product. A big component of it is actually, you know, them. Like, people are buying them.
Okay. So when you say being authentic, because I hear this word thrown around a lot in the social circles, you have to be authentic, you have to post, you have to be sort of congruent with your brand. Yeah. And it can confuse people because if I get lost in what authentic just means just tell it as it is, right? Brand means just being congruent, being aware of what the message is you're conveying. So having the right clothes on, having the right backgrounds, those sorts of things.
Yeah, the visuals.
Right. So making sure that we've got all this sort of stuff. So if we've got our brand message right, and we now have a unique selling proposition or point of difference right, now we're starting to get, I suppose, traction, yeah? People are starting to not only see our posts because we're paying for them, they're also starting to like the content and build some level of relationship with our organisation. What's the next step? So we've got these people following us, we've got likes, and I know, you know, likes is a measurement, but it's a very loose measurement, isn't it? It's a very low caliber of lead. How do we get them from like to spend money with me?
Yeah, so this is where we are going to break the myth behind Facebook marketing and social media and digital marketing.
Wait for it. Drum roll. The myth is?
The myth is it's actually all about relationships and engagement. I know.
That's it.
I could hear the excitement, and then I could hear the people going, "Oh, that was it." Like it. Yes, they're like sometimes people think it's all about like the funnels, the website, the blogs. People spend all their spare time going on Facebook Lives, building funnels, building landing pages, writing ebooks, writing email marketing. You know, like all their emails. But it's actually just as simple as having engagement and building relationships.
Right.
So for those that are, you know, running around spending all their spare time on social media, and if you are finding that social media is starting to really take up a lot of your time and it's starting to consume you, then I would say that what you've just got to consider is drawing back, taking a step back and drawing away from all, you know, what all the marketers say you've got to do.
Right.
And I've fallen into that trap as well before, you know, where I was creating a different lead magnet every month and landing pages, ebooks, all of that. And I realized that business started to come to me just from me being consistent with my brand, from me putting out messages out there and just having conversations with people.
So what you're telling me is it's not about the amount of content I put out there or the quality of my blogs.
Actually, not any of that at all.
So it's about having relationships with people.
Yeah, that's right. Interacting with people. And how funny is that? Like, we all think that, it's got to be this difficult thing. But yes, you should be creating, a landing page and a lead magnet. Like, by all means, if you're selling a book, if you're an author, if you're a coach, or, if you've got a program, an online program, or, if you're running a retreat, things like that, like, you should be doing these things.
Yeah.
But that's not the be all and the end all. What converts, what actually leads to business at the end of the day is building strong, solid relationships that are authentic.
Okay. So we talk about this whole idea of building these relationships, and then not only do people get to like us, but they get to, we have a model that we use. We ran a workshop this week called How to Make It Rain Referrals.
Yeah, that's great.
And the whole notion behind getting more referrals is about understanding there's a journey that a prospect goes through, and they start by having to know you. Right, and on social that's pretty easy. That's just about boosting posts. That's just about finding target markets and being in front of them. They need to like you, which means you have to be authentic. You have to have a brand message or something unique. Then they have to trust you. Now, trust is an interesting one because we get inundated with so much noise that the trust factor is even harder now than ever to create, because people are going, it's just another marketing campaign. It's just another thing. It's just, so they start to shut down. How do we build trust? Well, I suppose it's through communication. Because when I say I'm interested or I like something and I get a response from the owner, and it's not just trying to sell me something, it's actually just a genuine thank you, then all of a sudden I start to build relationships. Because one of the keys to building trust in business is to make and keep small agreements.
Absolutely.
And so when people ask for information, the best thing you can do is do what you said you were going to do.
And commit to what you committed to saying. Yes.
So once we get past know, like and trust, then we've got to move into this try and buy scenario. So try is going to be something like a lead magnet. It might be free information. It might be engagement like this conversation we're having today where we're just giving away knowledge. Now, why would we give away knowledge? Well, I'll suggest the reason we give it away is because it's not the knowledge that makes people successful. It's the application of the knowledge that makes people successful.
Definitely.
Now, that's been the basis of our business from 20 years ago. Is everything we teach, there's nothing new. People go, oh, what's new in business? I go, well, there's nothing new. It's always about selling a product or service for more than it costs you, and you get to keep the difference. And people go, my business is different. And we go, why is that? And they go, we have this unique, it's still a product or a service, and you still have to sell it for more than it costs you, and you get to keep the difference. So here we are in this social media space, and we're inundated by all of these, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this. And what you've just busted the myth of is really all you have to do is have someone have a conversation with you and build trust and give them a way to engage. And that way to engage could be a conversation, it could be a ebook, it could be a webinar, it could be any one of these sort of engagement tools to get them to try you out. Because I think one of the hard things on social media is people expect to put an ad up and get money.
Yeah, and I think it is everything that you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's also being comfortable with being an expert in your field.
Yeah.
And being comfortable with being in the public eye and not worrying about what people are going to say or think,
Right.
or all the judgment that's going to come through.
Yep.
Because so many people have so many different opinions. And if you're worrying about what everyone's opinions are, you're never going to put your message out there.
Yeah.
And you're never going to end up being that authentic you. So social media, like, just to make it a little bit more complex, even though it is as simple as having relationships,
Yep.
what that means is it's really putting yourself out there and not being afraid of standing out and being unique and, being in the public eye.
Right.
I think that's really quite important, and a lot of people are afraid of that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to be afraid of. Everyone's on social media these days, so.
And I know people are intimidated by getting on a camera.
Yeah, I've got a lot of clients that tell me that.
Yeah, and I used to be, believe it or not, and you used to be, I'm sure, as well, because
Oh yeah.
we always watch this video and go, do I really look like that? And the answer is yes. Do I really sound like that? The answer is yes.
No one likes the sound of their own voice.
No. But to be fair, when you talk to someone, you don't consider, do they like the sound of my voice? You engage in a conversation. And if they don't like the sound of your voice, the conversation's very short. So,
and they're not your ideal market if that was the case.
Yeah. So here we are saying, oh, I'm not sure if I can do this. I need to prepare. I need to buy this equipment. I need to get a professional. And the reality is, while you're doing that, your competitors are out there just creating content, building relationships, getting engagement, and starting to build some databases. So I think, we've talked about these 3 or 4 different things that we have to get into preparation. And there's one last thing that we need to really touch on is, once I've got someone engaged in a conversation, they're on social media with me still. So they might be just a chat, or it might be just a comment that's at the bottom of the post. How do I get that person to turn it into a client?
Yeah, okay. So the final part of the 6-step system that I take my clients through after what we've just talked about, that I would say that's step 5, which is content. Because when you're putting yourself out there online, being an expert in your field, it is about putting out relevant, consistent content, and I help them with creating content calendars for that. So the final step in assisting them to convert is the funnel. So the funnel is, the part where, we've just kind of debunked, but the funnel for some people is more complex than others. Some people's funnels are, massive landing pages that lead to like a thank you page and an upsell page and an opt-in, another opt-in page, another opt-in email. And some people's funnels are a bit more simple than that. Some people's funnels might literally just be have a conversation and grabbing a tea and a coffee. So the funnel is the final part that I assist my clients through, and building those funnels and the systems, which will then allow them to generate sales and ultimately get a return on marketing.
So I suppose when we talk about funnels, because at the start of this conversation we said funnels aren't going to make it on their own. So here's, I suppose, where I'm coming to. We said funnels don't work, and now we're telling you need a funnel.
A funnel on its own definitely doesn't work. Yes.
Because there's this myth out there that we can automate this whole thing. And if we get the right funnel, then that's the answer. And it's like when we do sales training and we talk to people and they say, we just need to know how to close a sale. And I think you don't just close a sale. You prepare a prospect to buy. And you do that by educating them, by asking the right questions, by building relationships, by building rapport, and by making sure you have a follow-up process. So that if they're not ready today, because not everyone's ready to buy today. If they're not ready to buy today, how do you keep them engaged so that you're there when they need you? Now, a funnel is exactly that. It's just a way of keeping the relationship going past the initial marketing component. So once someone shows some level of interest in engagement, you've got to have a few things in the funnel. And the first one is something that allows them to engage at the appropriate level. And I like this scenario. Imagine you go to a shop that sells milk. And all they sell is milk, and you walk in and you say, today I'd like to buy a loaf of bread. And they go, we don't sell bread, we sell milk. And you go, yes, I get that you sell milk, but I want bread. Well, that's what some people's offers are like, right? Because they have one product and they put it online, they try and sell it, and people go, that's great, but that's not what I want. What I want is something else. And you go, we don't have that, this is all we've got. So no sale occurs. Now, in the social media world, it's more important than ever, I think, to be able to bring people into a process where they have multiple options of engagement. And I think part of it has to be a soft entry, which is a try before you buy type scenario. It also has to be a low ticket entry where some people have different modalities. They prefer to read a book. They don't really want to talk to a person who's too confronting, or they want to watch a video. So you're going to have all these things in your funnel that cater for the different buyer types and the different stages of the buying process. So when we talk about funnels, it's not one funnel suits all. It's about just capturing. And I think you can design it to optimize the yield out of your social media marketing.
Yeah. Well, look, if there's anyone that is struggling with their funnel and building their marketing system, what I would say is that contact either David or myself. I am now here at Outcomes Business Group and assisting a lot of the coaches and the clients and even Outcomes with their funnel. So feel free to reach out. My email is
Phoebe@outcomes.business.
Yeah, so thank you.
It's easy. So you can catch me at David@outcomes.business. You can jump on the website outcomes.business. If you're on the webinar, the links will be posted. If you're on the social media pages, you can go to Phoebe's page.
Just DM me,
Yeah.
direct message. It's very simple.
I think,
We're on all of our platforms, and we're always checking all of our different.
So whichever way you want to reach out, I suppose in the end, if you're interested in finding out, first of all, whether social media should work for you, you can ask that question. Second of all, if you've tried it and it hasn't worked, what's missing in your strategy? You can ask that question. If you're thinking about changing channels, because some people are saying, well, isn't Instagram the way to go now? Well, the answer to that question is it depends on a few things. So that conversation can be had with Phoebe as well. I think the beauty of social media is there's so many options. I think the thing that confuses most people, it's a bit like a rabbit hole, isn't it? You start going down this hole and you start spending hours and hours and hours
on the one thing, which might not be the most effective thing for you.
Yeah.
So definitely we're understanding what's going to work for you will help you improve your strategy a lot more, so that you're more effective online. And that's what I'm here to do. I'd love to be able to answer any questions if there's any more questions, and we will be in touch with those that send. That send an inquiry. We will respond to anyone that has any concerns.
The simple answer here is, if you need help, reach out. Because I think it can be confounding, it can be confusing, and I think there's more questions than there are answers. Now, I'm hoping we've got some questions, but we've had some glitches in our technology, so we may not see them on our 5 devices that are running simultaneously. If that's the case, please reach out through either direct mail or however it is, ask the questions, because we'd love to answer them. It's an exciting area for us. I recognise that, even though Facebook's been around for over 10 years now, every single channel, and I'll include Google in this. I want you to think about this. Let's take a step back from reality of what's happening right now and look what happens. A media channel like Google starts by going out to the marketplace saying, we're going to build a presence. And Google's vision is to put all the information in the world online. Why do they want to do that? And why do they do it for free? Because they want eyeballs. They want people to jump onto their platform and use them. They've done that super successfully. So the first phase of any platform is give away lots of free stuff and encourage people to post. So Google said, put all your stuff on us and people will find you and they'll buy from you. So it was free, and it was all about just adding content. Facebook did the same. Instagram's doing the same. They're saying post photos. The more photos you post, the more leads you'll get. As the traffic increases, they start to monetize. And monetizing is when they say, we've got enough traffic that we can now sell attention.
Yeah.
And so they sell attention. Google does it through AdWords. Facebook does it through boosts and posts and all those sorts of things. And Instagram's going to do the same, and LinkedIn's, all the channels do it. And what they do is they start charging to get reach, and they stop letting you reach organically. Now, people get upset about it. They get upset about it. They go, oh my God, Facebook, now when I post, only 10% of my viewers get to... It was free, right? Facebook is a business. It's not a charity. And they did it for free at the start to get the traffic. And now that they got everyone hooked on the platform, they monetize. Now, you can win by just going out there and paying the money and being early. The early adopters are the ones that are getting the most out of these sort of platforms. But you need to know what you're doing. So if you've got any questions about this, please reach out to Phoebe, myself, or just go to the Outcomes website and put an inquiry there. You work out how you're going to do it, right? Because I think the people that are ahead of the game are the people that are going to win the game. And it's not about which is the right platform, because it changes. It's about being in touch with what's going on and having a strategy behind you.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of ways of marketing yourself online without having to spend excessive amounts on Facebook ads and excessive amounts on ad spend, AdWords and all that. So get in touch. We'd love to be able to assist you. And thank you so much for joining us today on your Friday afternoon. And have a great weekend.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend. We look forward to catching up with you soon.
See you guys.
Cheers. Bye.